Hello, happiness abounder, and welcome back. So, today I want to chat about the other relationship in our lives that can really impact our happiness. We've spoken about our partner or spouse, we've spoken about our family, the one that we were raised with, and now I want to talk about your relationship with your best friends. I'm going to single in on one, right? That best friend in your life, that person who you have shared pretty much everything with and that you have a deep connection with. I want to talk to you about how that relationship can impact your happiness, whether for the positive or the negative. And this is actually a bit of a difficult subject for me. I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually wrote out in December, the last 2 weeks of December of last year, I wrote out everything I wanted to talk about on the podcast this year. So at the time of creating this series, this theme week, I had a really good, at least at the time, I thought I had a really good best friend relationship. So it was all about the positivity and the support that that kind of relationship can give you. In that time, actually it started way before I actually wrote these things, but I couldn't see it. My best friend relationships have shifted. And what has been truly spectacular about this is that I have been able to release an expectation around what a best friend should look like, and it has allowed me to be so much happier. So while this was originally going to be all about having strong relationships in your life and making sure that you have that person that you can talk to and that can be that support that's not just your spouse, right? That person who is on a similar path with you, going in a similar direction, and is full of positivity and support for everything that you're doing, especially if you're listening to a show like this as you do what you need to do to help your life be happier. So I'm going to share kind of a story here and share how that has shifted a little bit for me. So I am the kind of person who has friendships for a very, very long time, and about a year and a half ago, I got my coaching certification at the end of May, a year ago. So yeah, it's been about a year and a half, and maybe a little bit more because my program was about 3 months. So almost 2 years, a year and 9 months ago, I started going after my goal of becoming a certified life coach at the time, which I now am, which is great. But I started going after this goal, and I got a lot of support from a lot of people, but I didn't get a lot of support from the one person I thought I would get it from. And that was fine. That wasn't a reflection on me. It was a reflection of them at that time. But I found that it deeply impacted my happiness as I had an expectation for this relationship to be a certain way, and it no longer was that way. And it had kind of just happened what felt like overnight. And as I continued to try to force it to be what I thought it should be, thinking that would help me be happier, I was really forcing it further and further away. In my own mind and potentially in theirs. I can't read their mind. But what has ended up happening in that time frame is I've had an experience of letting go of that expectation. And for me, that meant not going all in like I had before and just giving this person space. And by giving them space, but also giving myself space and the permission to let this be whatever it was going to be versus me trying to force it and texting all the time and catching up and setting up, hey, we should hang out, and all of these individual little things I always had done to maintain the friendship. I started to realize that if I could let those things go, I could let the friendship be what it was. And if that wasn't held into expectation of what I thought it should be, I was a lot happier. So, and I am being vague to protect the privacy of those involved, but it's really interesting because as soon as I was able to let those things go, the friendship is what it is, but my ability to be happier in thinking about it has shifted completely. It's not about clinging and hanging on and holding on to a friendship that's shifted and trying to force it into something else. It's now become about, if this person's there, great. And if they're not, that's great too. I can't force them, and I can definitely support them from afar, and I can support them up close if they want to open that to me, and vice versa. But there's a pressure that's been removed, and it's made me so much happier. So how does this relate to your happiness, right? I think there's a couple of things. One, I thought that this friendship was never going to change. And I built that up in my mind because you'll hear this a lot from self-help journey people, is that your friendships are going to change. You're going to have friends that you've had for a long time start to drop off. And I was like, no, that won't happen to me. No. And I kept on saying that's not going to happen. And then I reinforced that it wasn't going to happen because I held on so tight. And I refused to see that, in fact, the relationship was changing and that I was changing. And it came to a point where I either had to keep changing positively or keep holding on. So I made the choice to not hold on and to keep changing positively. But I think this correlates to you, because if you are doing work to be happier, if you are implementing the action items I offer in every episode here, even if you do half of them, 2 of them, you are going to see a shift and a change in your life. And you will reach a point eventually where you start looking at that friendship, that best friendship, and seeing, is it really providing you happiness? Are you holding on? Are you feeding expectations of what you think it should be versus what it actually is? Just because, like any relationship, it's a 2-way street. They've got to be able to reciprocate it for you. And the beauty of this is, and in my experience, is that when I was able to let it go, it wasn't okay, I'm never talking to you again. You obviously don't support me and don't care. It wasn't that at all. It was, okay, I can let this go and let it be what it needs to be and still be friendly and still send them on with love because they've been a big part of my life for so long. But I also need to send myself on with love and keep on striving for my ultimate happiness. So as you're in this journey, I want you to kind of explore those relationships. Don't put the blinders on like I did and then get blindsided by, well, what is going on here, right? I didn't want to see it, and so I didn't. And it made it so much worse. So first things first, have that friend that's a positive and support in your life. If they are not, don't hold on to that expectation that that's who they should be. And be willing to let go of that expectation. Be willing to let go of that friendship for your greater happiness while still sending them on with forgiveness and light and love. Now, if you'd like more details on how I did that, or even more details on the story, I'm happy to share it in a more private setting than the podcast. So if you'd like to reach out to me, I'm happy to set up a phone call and specifically talk about the exercises that I did to be able to release with light and love. One was a letter. It was fantastic. And it really helped me change my perspective and keep on moving towards my happiness. So your relationship with your best friend can deeply impact your happiness. Whether it's a lack of support or great support, or it's just the relationship has shifted and changed as you have shifted and changed, and we're letting go of those expectations, releasing them, can have a big impact on your happiness as well. So I hope that this episode connects with you. Again, if you'd like more information, you'd like more details about how I was able to work through that expectation release and that relationship of light and love instead of resentment and anger, then I'd be happy to share it with you. You can reach out to me at happinessabound.com, Happiness Abound blog on Facebook, and happiness_abound on Instagram. I'm happy to chat there with you in a one-on-one setting. So that said, I'm going to leave you with that today. I hope this was beneficial for you, very beneficial for me to just even be able to talk about it. But it does make a big impact in your happiness of letting go of those expectations and seeing relationships for what they truly are so that you can be happier and they can be happier too. So I'm going to leave you with that today. Hope you have a wonderful day. Pay attention to your expectations of your friendships and let them be what they need to be. And above everything else, remember, you are capable of happiness abound.